All right, guys, it's time for the third and final installment of your test review. Yay! So let's talk about properties and changes, physical changes, chemical changes. Okay, you need to get a piece of paper out and you need to draw this chart. So I highly recommend pausing the video now and getting it written down so that you are able to follow along. So go ahead and pause, write it down. Okay, now that you've got it, let's talk about the definition of some of these things. So, properties. A property is a characteristic, okay, of something. So, it can be something that you look at or um, something that you can see with your five senses, so sight, touch, taste, smell, things of that nature. A change is, well, exactly what it sounds like when something changes. Now, a physical property is a characteristic that can be observed without changing the identity. Okay, and so examples of this would include color, mass, volume, density, smell, texture, size. Okay, all of these I can observe without changing the identity. For example, I might observe that the word properties is written in blue. That is a physical property. But me observing that it is blue doesn't in any way change the fact that it's a digital screen that's showing blue pixels. Okay, now a chemical property is a characteristic, okay, because properties are all characteristics that can only be determined while observing a chemical change. Okay, now for these, we might see flammability. Okay, flammability is the ability to catch fire. I don't know that something will catch fire until I actually set it on fire. pH is a chemical property. If I say that an acid has a pH of 2, the only way I know that is by either doing a titration, which is a chemical change, or using pH paper, which is also a chemical change. When that piece of paper changes colors, which is one of our characteristics of a chemical change that we learned from Unit 1, flammability, pH, um, reactivity. If I want to know whether or not this metal will react with acid, the only way for me to find out is to actually react them, put them close together, and see if anything happens. So flammability, pH, reactivity, all of these are chemical properties. Okay? Now, a physical change is a change that does not affect the identity. Okay, now you have learned in middle school, for some reason, I do not know why, that physical changes are all reversible and chemical changes are not. This is false. False, false, false. Chemical and physical changes can all be reversed or irreversible. Okay, it depends. Irreversible. Okay? Some chemical changes are not reversible and some are. Some physical changes are not reversible. For example, a physical change could be a haircut. So if you cut your hair, that's irreversible. You cannot get glue and glue your pieces of hair together and have it go back to the way it was. However, it is still a physical change because it doesn't change the fact that the hair that's now on the floor and the hair still on your head is, in fact, your hair. It did not change the identity of it. So anytime you're cutting, Okay, if I paint my house, okay, if I put it changes the color, which usually is a sign of a chemical change. However, if I'm just painting the house, it doesn't change the siding, okay? It doesn't change the chemical composition. It's just a layer on top of it. That first color is still underneath it. Um, Food coloring, okay? All that is mixing one color with water or with some other liquid, not a physical change. Anytime, or that is a physical change. It's not actually changing the fact that that is water. It's just added something else into it. Sugar dissolving in water. Okay. Anytime something dissolves, I can get that sugar back. If you've ever been heating up something that had sugar in it and all of the water evaporates, you get this brown kind of thing at the bottom, and that's the sugar that you had originally dissolved that's now being burned. And speaking of burning, let's talk about chemical changes. These are changes that change the identity of the substance. Okay, and so anytime you see burning, this is always going to be chemical burning. Okay, anytime you see any sort of chemical reaction, you have a chemical change. For example, a battery corroding. If you've ever left a battery in like any sort of electronic device for too long and it kind of explodes and gets all weird, that's a chemical reaction with the chemicals inside the battery changing. If you have ever seen, what's another example of a chemical change? Rusting. Rusting is a chemical change. It's going from iron plus oxygen in the air and it's creating iron oxide. Okay, it's a chemical change. So the ability to rust is a chemical property. Okay, now these can all be a little, you know, nitpicky. There are very few things. It might be the way it's worded, determine whether or not it's a property or a change, right? If we're looking at the ability to rust or rusting, okay, we're talking about is it actually occurring right then, okay? You have practice problems for these on your study guide, so good luck.